Welcome, everyone. In today's webinar, we'll be discussing some of the basics of accessibility in EdTech in a concise 20-minute webinar. There is certainly a lot more to all of this, but the session is meant to touch on some of the highlights. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Kimberly Hulbert, AVP of Education Services here at Magic. I've been in EdTech for over 20 years. I'd like to thank one of my colleagues, Tarveen Kaur, for all of her expertise in planning this webinar. Our organization, Magic EdTech, is a 30-year-old New York-based company that has many years of experience in this area. And we have over 200 accessibility experts on our team. So let's get started. Here is the agenda we'll cover today. Due to the allotted time, I'll invite you to ask your questions in the chat window, and I'll send all of the answers out to you after, along with a link to the recorded webinar. We'll discuss what is accessibility and who does it affect, share some statistics, talk about the common types of disabilities, share what does compliance refer to and provide examples, share about how educational institutions require accessibility compliance and why it's so important. What is accessibility in EdTech and who does it affect? Accessibility is about providing an inclusive environment for all. It's the practice of making websites, products, platforms, content, documents, videos, and hardware and tools usable for students with a disability. This topic has come to the forefront of education over the past several years. According to an analysis done by the international legal firm Seyfarth Shaw in 2018, the number of federal lawsuits filed in the U.S. from 2016 to 17 has almost tripled, going from 814 to 2,258, and is only expected to increase. So let's look at the statistics. Did you know that 57 million Americans have a disability? That's almost 20% of the U.S. population. Of these, 19.9 million have difficulty lifting or grasping. That could impact the use of a mouse or keyboard. And 8.1 million have a vision impairment. They may rely on a screen reader, magnifier, or have a form of color blindness. 7.6 million have a hearing impairment. They may rely on captions or transcripts for audio and video media. And 38.3 million have a severe disability. That could be any variety of accommodations, modifications, or adaptations to learning tools. So what does compliance refer to? The Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, also known as WCAG, are a part of a series of web guidelines published by the World Wide Web Consortium, also known as W3C, an international community of over 25 years where member organizations develop web standards across the globe. In looking down at the chart, you can see three different levels of compliance. A, must support, AA, should support, and AAA may support. And to the right, you can see two versions of WCAG. The very first, WCAG 2.0, was originally published in December of 2008. And you can see there, if you add up the total in the green, 25, 13, and 23, there are 61 success criteria that are involved in WCAG 2.0. And you can see the differing levels of compliance. WCAG 2.1 was published in June of 2018. That is the most recent version. And 17 more success criteria were added, bringing it to a total of 78 total success criteria. These are the four key principles of WCAG, also known as POUR: perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. For perceivable, users must be able to detect the contents of the page and user interface. Operable, they must be able to interact with the components of the page. Understandable, they must be able to understand the content. And robust, remain accessible to a variety of user agents, including assistive technologies. So what are assistive technologies? They're pieces of equipment or software that a person with a disability may use to access content such as a screen reader or voice recognition device. This slide shows the most common types of disabilities and where the additional 17 criteria were added for WCAG 2.1. You can see cognitive and learning disabilities, low vision, speech inputs, hearing impairment, motor and dexterity, and blindness. Again, seeing the 3 different levels of compliance, remembering that AAA is the highest priority, highest level of conformance, and you can see check marks across the row. So of those 17 additional success criteria that were added for WCAG 2.1, you can see the breakdown here. So for the AAA level of compliance, you can see check marks in cognitive and learning disabilities, hearing impairment, and motor and dexterity, and where the check marks are for the other levels of compliance. We noticed in preparing for today's webinar, oddly, that GoToWebinar, a third-party agent we're using to deliver this webinar, doesn't offer live captioning. So we're disappointed to report that this webinar, unfortunately, is not actually accessible. Here are 3 specific examples of where Magic has supported clients with compliance. In the first box to the left, you can see where we helped a partner comply with the Texas Proclamation 2020 for accessibility, auditing, and remediating their web-based platform, 2,000 widgets of 32 different types, over 30,000 PDFs and EPUBs. Our company Magic was the only vendor chosen by our partner to meet the compliance requirements for the state of Texas to create the Center of Excellence for Accessibility. In example 2, in the middle of the slide, we provided the same type of service for the client, auditing and remediating a variety of types of items. So fill in the blank, drag and drop, multiple choice, etc., to be compatible across a wide range of screen readers like NVDA, JAWS, ChromeVox, and VoiceOver. And to the right, the final example, we brought this major publisher's platform to WCAG 2.0 AA compliance and built a reusable framework to be used across various applications. So they could be compatible across JAWS, NVDA, VoiceOver, ChromeVox, TalkBack, and VoiceView used with the Kindle. The following couple of slides cite examples of educational institutions that recently required accessibility compliance, but I'm sure there are thousands more examples. On the screen here, you can see that we have Reynolds School District in Oregon. They recently released an RFP for website hosting and design solution and indicated that the must comply with accessibility laws. New York State Department of Education had an RFP recently for special ed and technical assistance requiring web accessibility. And on Austin ISD's front landing page of their website, they have internet accessibility requirements that all pages of our website will meet WCAG 2.1 or 2.0 and level AA conformance. Another from Texas, an RFP was released for Texas Gear Up to meet standards for security, accessibility, and privacy. And a couple of examples in the higher ed sector. San Bernardino Community College in California released an RFP for enterprise student information, financial aid, and CRM software-related services requiring accessibility compliance. Pima Community College in Arizona, an RFP for assessment management system indicating that it needed to meet Section 508 requirements. I mean, we found in general that most EdTech companies' products and platforms are somewhere in the remediation phase. About 25% conform to A level, and only about 2% conform to the highest level, AAA. And something really important to note here, whether you're an EdTech company offering website hosting, design solutions, curriculum, an assessment platform, financial or other system, accessibility affects your business. Plus, it's the right thing to do. From a return on investment standpoint, did you know the disabled community worldwide relies on these tools and has over $1 trillion in disposable income? Did you know that less accessible websites rank more poorly with search engines, which means you may be missing more clients than just those with disabilities? Here are 3 examples of consequences of non-compliance. In December of 2018, 50 colleges were hit with ADA lawsuits. A Brooklyn, New York man was not able to use his screen reader. These cases are still in litigation. Recently, the Seattle School District was sued by a mother of 3 blind children who were not able to access curricular resources. Total fines were in excess of $80,000. And in 2016, the New York City Department of Education settled out of court, paid fees, and committed to create new websites providing training and undergo biannual testing, resulting in hundreds of thousands of dollars in costs. The industry continues to move toward accessibility compliance, and rightly so. Rather than focus on the consequences, though, we should prioritize inclusion for all. Every student deserves a chance to learn and succeed. Students with disabilities are protected under ADA, Section 504, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and Every Student Succeeds Act's laws. It's every company's responsibility to comply. This concludes our webinar today. I hope you were able to pick up a few things. I'd like to invite you to our follow-on session, Part 2, a deeper dive into accessibility. At the end of that session, we'll open live for any remaining questions. We'll be announcing the date soon. It'll be around mid-January. After the session today, I'll be sending out the answers to your questions, along with a link to the recorded webinar. Thank you for attending and have a productive day.